Namaste. This is Master Teacher Jason Campbell, ZenBusinessBootcamp.com, and this is lesson 3 of 3. So the first lesson we said, what's the most important component in your business? What is the foundation of everything? And the answer to that is teacher space, focused outcome. You hold the vibrational frequency. You hold that teacher space, yet at the same time you have to be very deliberate and very disciplined in your outcome if you are going to take your craft, your spiritual craft, and turn it into a vocation. You can't be scatterbrained. You can't be running around like that, which I see many studio owners do. No, that is no good. You have to be very clear and very focused. Second lesson was, okay, what business are you in? We said the yoga business, the qigong business, the martial art business. No, you are in the business of recruiting, enrolling, and retaining new members and new clients. Okay? It's like you open the front door and then you lock the back door. That is the business that you're in. Now, your craft and the transformation and the community that you create is all what gives you the right to recruit and enroll, but you have to understand that the business part is in the recruiting, enrolling, and retaining of new members. Okay, so today's lesson, the third lesson, is what you need to be so clear on, and this is so important, and this keeps you out of scatterbrain mode. This keeps you out of that type of mode. I was a few years ago, I was at my daughter's elementary school, and there was a kid, and he had a t-shirt, and a t-shirt said, "I don't have ADD, I just ... Hey, look, there's a squirrel." And so you do not want to have the, "Hey, look, there's a squirrel" method of management. And quite frankly, I see most studio owners and even most independent teachers, unfortunately, have that type of scatterbrain mentality. No, you have to be very, very clear on what you're doing. And so now, let's get mechanical for a moment. This is going to be a little bit more nuts and bolts. The first two lessons were more conceptual, and this one is going to be more practical nuts and bolts. And you have 3 and only 3 areas of your business. And you have to see these 3 areas, or let's call them the 3 buckets, so clearly, so at any given time, you know what component of the business that you are working on. See, if you don't know this, it's like, working on a car and you don't understand that there's an engine and a carburetor, or working on some sort of machine without understanding the basic components of it, and so you'll be lost. You will be completely lost, or you will go scatterbrained, you will go lateral, you will get involved in auxiliary projects that do not help you out, and you won't cohesively build your business. Okay, and let's do a little test for you. What do you think those 3 components are? Write them down. And let's test your spiritual entrepreneurial IQ. I think we did that in the first lesson as well. I let you off for the second lesson and we didn't do a test. And so what do you think those 3 components are? Okay, I will tell you what they are. They are lead generation, enrollment, and product. Is it that simple? Yes, I'm going to say it again. Lead generation, enrollment, in product. And I have it right here. It's in the manual, and so it's these 3 parts. Okay, let's go through this for a moment. And I have to give you a brief version of that. Remember, these are short teachings. But let's start with lead generation, shall we? Okay, the first thing you must have in any sort of successful business is a group of people consistently raising their hand and saying, "Hey, I'm interested, tell me more." Okay, whether they type it in and send you an email, whether they call you on the phone, whether they actually just stumble into your building, doesn't matter. But you have to have lead flow and you have to have lead generation. And importantly, is you must have a system for it so that you can have predictable lead flow. Okay, think of your lead flow is the irrigation for the crops. Basically, if you don't have water for the roots of the trees, well, you're going to run into issues. If you do not have people coming into your studio and people just, or calling and inquiring or contacting you, I didn't say to enroll yet, just to raise their hand. If you don't have that, that's the first thing that has to be fixed from the business component. And really all 3 of these need to be fixed, but that's one of the components. Because if you don't have that, the second component, which is the enrollment system, doesn't exist. If you have nobody coming in the door, who is there? Who can you enroll? You're not going to enroll anybody. And so the second component is a clear enrollment system. Now, what most yoga studios do is they have a big card that says, well, the drop-ins cost this, and there's a 5 class, and there's a 10 class, and there's a 20 class, and there's a 1 month, 3 month, and blah, 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 and this whole giant menu. And then when somebody comes in, they come in and they go through their first lesson, and at the end, if they're lucky, they hand them a menu. Hey, would you like to do more? And they say, oh, well, maybe, and here's the class, and what's the big class schedule that they can choose. That's the worst way of enrollment. Okay, that is the absolute worst. Now, that's, 90% of the studios, as I make this teaching right now, are doing that, and that's really the industry norm, but that's not correct. And that's kind of like letting somebody into a buffet that doesn't even know anything about food. They won't even know where to start. And they go looking at the cheesecake and the bacon, and they don't know where to begin. No. If you are a teacher, if you're going to bring somebody through a path of transformation, you must have a system and a clear path in which they can go on, and a clear enrollment system, and part of that enrollment system includes tuition. So you have to have a clear path for what they're going to get and what it costs, and quite frankly, you have to be good at explaining it. If you're not good at explaining it, well, then not a large number of people will enroll, and you're going to have issues. I said this in the last teaching, is what do we call a teacher with no students? A practitioner. And then that certainly does not work from an entrepreneurial viewpoint. And so also part of the enrollment system, the interesting thing here is we start to bump up a lot of times against instructors' fears. And one of those fears is asking for money. Okay, I have spent a lot of time over the last 20 years helping teachers just correctly ask for money. A lot of times there's a lot of charge. There's all emotional, and there's all these wealth wounds, and it's all nonsense, and you're going to have to get over it. That's not today's teaching on how to get over it. I go through this in some detail on these courses here, but you are going to have to get over it. Now, the third part. Okay, we said lead generation, lead generation, enrollment, and then the third part is, of course, the product. But let's think about that for a moment. What is the product? Okay, so I asked this at the live event when we go through this teaching. What is the product? Well, the product's yoga. No. Well, the product's the building. No. The product is, the name of the company. Blah, blah, blah. No. Well, the product is the community. No. The product, they'll get a little clever. They'll say the product is the transformation. Close. I mean, we're getting closer, but no. That's not That's not the correct answer. What is the correct answer? What do you think that is? What is the product? Well, I have good news and I have bad news. The product is you. Yes, you. You are the product, and you ultimately are it. And you cannot give what you do not have in abundance of. And so really think about that. And this is where this is different. If you're hawking pills, potions, and lotions, well, then that's the product. The product is a widget. The product is, something that you can hold in your hand. But that's different. If you are the product, well, that means that you must be in process. You have to be on a spiritual path. You have to be on the path of growth and on the path of personal development. You see, students don't care how much you know, but they do want to know how much you care. So does that mean that you have to know everything and you have to be a master? No. But you have to be growing and you have to be in process. And that is the key there. And you have to look at that you're the product. So for you to invest in yourself and to invest in your cultivation, and that's, I say investment, I don't just mean money, I mean time, effort, and energy. I mean the tuition's the easy part. You go through 1 year of Zen Business University. You go through this course. You go through this course, you and I go through diagnostics in your business, and I help you go through A to B to C, and we help build together, and you ask me questions. We have a whole system in which you do this. Well, that's not just a monetary investment. That's actually the easiest part. It's the investment of sweat, and the investment of you learning, and the investment of you growing. That's really going to be the key there. And so you're the product. And you're it, and that's both the good news and the bad news. And really, I say that somewhat sarcastically about the bad news, but there's nowhere to hide in this. And it is my point that you have to step up and you have to grow and you have to stand in your power as the product and understand that so clearly. So if you're working on your business, you have to know without any sort of doubt, with total clarity, what part are you working on? Are you working on lead generation? Am I getting the phone to ring? Am I working on my enrollment system? Or Am I working on my product, which ultimately is me? Now, once you start to micro that and break down the product, yes, it's into curriculum and the class times and the teachers and, how I'm taking students through transformation. So, we get quite micro on the product. I mean, in Zen Wellness and Zen Business Bootcamp, we spend a tremendous amount of time on our product and making the experience for the user, the end user or the student better and better. But ultimately, that starts with you and it goes down. Okay, this is Master Teacher Jason Campbell, ZenBusinessBootcamp.com, wishing you peace, blessings, and abundance. Namaste.